You can study nursing for free. I'm making this video because I've seen too many young people, and sometimes not even very young people, come into nursing with nursing school debt. And the way I see it is, why pay money to study nursing if you could do it for free? My name is Tapiwa. I am a nurse. I studied nursing in the UK, and then I worked there for 18 years before moving to the States. And I didn't have any college debt. I didn't have any nursing school debt, because at the time in the UK, you could study nursing for free. In fact, you would be given a bursary. So you would have a monthly allowance to make sure that you were financially looked after while studying to be a nurse, because they recognized that they had a shortage of nurses, and their strategy was to create opportunities for people from any background to go into nursing without worrying about university fees or living costs or anything like that. So I had a bursary. I was able to live in nursing student accommodation, which was, I had my own room, but shared a kitchen and bathroom with other people on the floor that I lived on. And so I didn't have to worry about university fees. I didn't have to worry about accommodation, transportation, or food. And I came out of school with zero debt. So I wanted to see if there was a way for people here in the States to be able to go to nursing school without accumulating debt, without getting into so much debt that you don't even enjoy the first years of nursing. Nursing is a job where you give so much of yourself. And so if you're having to pay a lot of debt while giving as much as you give when you're doing your job as a nurse, it could take the joy out of it. So I think people should be able to get into nursing and enjoy it from the get-go without worrying about, here I am lumped with so much debt, and I don't even enjoy what I'm doing. So I looked at the various ways that people could study nursing for free. Like here in Texas, I specifically did a search just for what you can find here in Texas to help you go to nursing school, debt-free, essentially. And I have an example, a personal example of someone that I know, a family member, who's currently in nursing school and is barely paying any fees. And this is someone who's not even an American citizen. So if someone who's not an American citizen can go to nursing school and come out of nursing school with no debt, then to me, an American citizen or someone who is a permanent resident, for example, should be able to do that and even better. So here's what I found. The first thing that I found was, I'm going to be reading this off a screen because I couldn't memorize it. The first thing I found was Nursing Students Scholarship Program. This is a state scholarship funded by the Texas legislature. It's specifically for nursing students. For community colleges, the maximum per semester is $2,134. And the priority for this funding is for students who are not yet licensed as a registered nurse in Texas or any other state. So already you can see that there are so many ways that you could go to nursing school and not have to worry about fees. And you apply for this through your college's financial aid office. The second thing that I found was the Texas Educational Opportunity Grant. And this is designed to make sure well-prepared high school graduates with financial need can get to go to college. So you must be a Texas resident and submit the FAFSA or the TAFSA, and your eligibility is determined by the college financial aid office. So what I find is many people don't even bother to apply for this. They just discount themselves before they even apply, and they end up paying fees when they really don't have to. So apply for anything that says scholarship, grant, whatever, apply for it. Let the other person be the one to decide whether you are eligible or not, and not discount yourself before you even apply. The next thing I found was federal grants. So these are not just for people in Texas. If it's federal, it means anybody in the country, right? So you apply for the federal Pell Grant, P-E-L-L, and you apply through FAFSA. This is the foundation of most financial aid packages and can significantly reduce or eliminate tuition at community colleges. And then there's the HRSA Nurse Corps Foundation. Students enrolled in a nursing program can receive funding for tuition, fees, and other educational costs. In exchange, you must work at a critical shortage facility upon graduation. Let me tell you something. Many places in Texas and other states are critical shortage foundations, or facilities. So you're not going to have a problem finding somewhere to work. In fact, you will have quite a few places to pick from. And if you're required to work there when you graduate, it's probably only going to be for about 2 years. And 2 years is a good stretch of time for you to get used to the profession, to get used to being a nurse before you move on to the next thing. And then there's the Scholarships for Disadvantaged Students, the SDS. This provides grants to schools for funding scholarships to students from disadvantaged backgrounds enrolled in health professions programs. Then we come to the free tuition programs. So many community college districts offer free tuition to all first-time freshmen who demonstrate financial need. Austin Community College, I'm going to talk about this one because this is where I live. ACCD offers completely tuition-free college for up to 3 years, no income limit. So no matter how much your parents or whoever is your caregiver is earning, you can have tuition-free college for up to 3 years at Austin Community College if you're a Texas resident with a high school diploma or a GED. So the tips that I would suggest for you to maximize on the aid. You file your FAFSA and TAFSA early. The state priority deadline is typically January 15th. And then you stack multiple sources. So you can apply for the Pell Grant, plus the state nursing scholarship, plus the institutional scholarships, all together can cover most, if not all, your costs. So you can, you don't have to just apply for the one, because you might be granted several of these scholarships and grants and funds that are available. And there's no limit. There's nothing that says, oh, if you get this one, you can't get that one. It is really up to you. That's why sometimes you see people on the news or on social media who say, I got 1.7 million in scholarships, because you're allowed to stack them. So that's what you should do. Don't not do it. Do it, so that you can basically go to school for free. And then if you're applying, ask your community college's nursing department directly. Many of them have private foundation scholarships that are not widely advertised. And so these sometimes just go unclaimed. I recently took my son to a college tour because he's going to be going to college next year. And one of the things that the student who took us on the tour was saying was that much of the money that's available in scholarships goes unclaimed because people simply do not apply. He himself was on a full scholarship. He got a full scholarship. He had multiple scholarships that he was on, and he was not paying a single penny in fees, and he goes to UT. And if anyone knows UT is quite prestigious here in Texas and pretty much in the States, because when we were touring, there were kids from all over the country who really want to go to UT. This child that was taking us around the campus, he had a scholarship from the Dell Foundation, like Michael Dell, the owners of Dell, the computers. He had another one from, it was a Chick-fil-A. He had a Chick-fil-A one, and then he had the Michael Dell scholarship, and he had one or two other scholarships. And on top of that, he was saying, and I was also going to apply for the scholarship that allows you to go and study abroad for a few months. And so, what he was basically saying was, apply for any scholarship that you see and just, give it your best, because you never know. Many people have, many of these millionaires or billionaires, they give so much money to schools because they can, and they don't know what to do with their money, and it just goes unclaimed. So apply. And then another thing that you need to do is check with the Office of Financial Aid at your school, as well as the administration in your school of nursing, to get the heads up on school-specific scholarships. So scholarships are not only for very intelligent people with the highest marks. Some scholarships, yes, are merit-based, you only get it if your grades are at a certain level. But many scholarships are not anything to do with how well you're doing or performing, because the goal for many of these people who donate money is to widen access, to make studying as accessible as possible to as many people as possible, because many people get excluded because they couldn't afford to study, or they might not have got the best grades because maybe they're coming from a background where they lived in a neighborhood where the schools were just not that great. Had they been in a different neighborhood, they might have performed better. But now that they're going for a career in higher education where they might have more support, these people donate their money to widen access, to make studying and getting a higher education more accessible for more people. So what I'm saying is, go for it. Apply for scholarships, apply for grants. You are not the one to decide if you're eligible or not. Somebody else will do, will make that decision. Your job is just to put in the application. And, don't be ashamed of your needs. Don't be ashamed of your background, because that is exactly what, will get you the scholarship. If you're coming from a background where there's need either financially because the money wasn't available, or you're coming from a background where certain life events have impacted your ability to access education and you've not been able to, but now this scholarship might be the way that you get in, go for it. And another thing I see is many people who think that if they go to a prestigious nursing school, they get a better job. That's not true. In fact, what I find is many employers, especially nursing here where I'm based, like to employ people from the community college. Here's why. The community college tutors are very invested in providing the best education, and the students that come from the community college, specifically Austin Community College, are, head and shoulders above the rest. They perform very, very, very well. They're just on it. They know what they're doing. They get very good quality education. They get very good quality clinicals. Their instructors are present when they're coming for their clinicals, so don't discount a community college because you think it's more prestigious for you to go and study at a fancy university with a big name. It's not necessarily going to get you the better job than anyone else. People from community colleges get jobs directly into ICU from graduating from nursing school. Why? Because they've demonstrated that they have had very good clinical experience, they've had a very good education base, and they're ready to be able to tackle a critical care environment. That's not to say that there's anything wrong with going to a fancy or prestigious university. What I'm saying is, you're going to get a quality education from a community college. You don't have to discount a community college because you think you'll get a better job by going to a private college for nursing school. You can go to a private college, you can end up with all that debt, but when it comes to recruitment, you're not going to be preferred over someone who went to community college. So that's just, that's just something I want people to be aware of, that you shouldn't discount them. In fact, I would choose to go to a community college for nursing school, especially for my basic nursing education, where I'm saying, okay, I want to get my first nursing degree, or even associate degree or bachelor's, whatever it is. You don't need to go to a fancy college. You can get as good, if not better, an education at community college. Another thing that I would also want to get into, because I guess what I'm trying to get at is your nursing education is the gift that keeps on giving. So let's say you get into nursing and you have an associate degree. You don't have to feel inferior to anyone because you don't have your BSN yet. A BSN is not a prerequisite for you to, first of all, get a nursing license. You can get a nursing license with an associate degree if you pass your NCLEX. The importance of a BSN comes in where maybe you're wanting to go to work at a hospital that is, maybe it's a magnet hospital, and it's in their interests to be able to say this percentage of our nurses have bachelor's degrees. So in truth, you who has the associate degree and a nurse who has a bachelor's degree are just, you're equally capable of taking care of any patient if you have the experience, that you need from working on that unit. It's not that the nurse with the BSN is a better nurse than you are. So if you are someone who has an associate degree and you decide that, actually, I don't want to go and do a BSN. I'm just going to keep my associate degree in nursing and keep working. That's okay. There are many nurses who have associate degrees who carry on working. Their pay is not docked because they don't have a BSN. Their pay will also go up merit-based every single year, just like anyone who has a bachelor's, because at the end of the day, they're still performing the same tasks and duties and role and responsibility looking after patients. So there are nurses who've been nurses for 20, 30, 40 years who have associate degrees, and they're fantastic nurses. And they've never had to shell out an extra penny on going to do, this degree or that degree or that degree. But what they've stacked up on is experience. They are the nurses that newer nurses know that if I need to know how to do this, I can go to this person and she'll know how to do it. She'll show me. They're the quietly confident ones on the unit doing everything. And they're quite happy in that role. So spending that extra money, going to school, if it's not your passion to get letters and letters and letters behind your name, you don't have to. You don't have to, unless you're doing it because you have a particular goal to go and, use those credentials for something else. Your associate degree can be that gift that keeps on giving without you getting into debt, without accumulating debt, but just accumulating experience. And it doesn't mean that you're stuck in one job. You can move around. You can go to very different types of jobs with that specific qualification, but it's your experience and how you present yourself that's going to matter, that's going to count as to whether you're able to move around and use your experience to leverage different types of jobs and different types of opportunities, because your experience is as valuable to employers as you can imagine. It's very, very valuable experience. Employers are looking for experienced people that they can put straight into a role and they hit the ground running. So that's just something to be aware of. My goal really was just to maybe help people see nursing as an opportunity to get into a profession that pays well without getting into debt and without continuing to accumulate debt throughout your life and career, and hopefully enjoy the profession as well. I hope that's been helpful. I'm going to put links in the description to the various funds and scholarships that I mentioned. If anyone would like to click those and access those, I don't get any kickbacks. Just really basically trying to hopefully help someone and promote the profession, because I think it's a wonderful profession, and If someone's trying to get into it, then I want to be one of those people that's encouraging and helping you get into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much to all those people who have liked and subscribed. I appreciate people watching, and again, I hope this has been helpful.